Aaron Antis, on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show, we are interviewing our first guest that I know of who goes by the nickname Captain.
It's Captain Hoff.
Yes, that's true.
Now, when you hear that someone is a captain, in your mind, does that sound scary? Do you picture a pilot, a navigator on a sea ship? What comes to your mind when you picture a captain?
Well, as soon as you said that, I started smelling Captain Crunch.
You don't picture the ocean or an airplane or a spaceship?
I was thinking about a bowl of cereal. That's what I was thinking about.
I picture a man at sea who is trying to fight against the waves, trying to find a way to fight his way back home.
I can see that.
To the land.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to cue up some suspenseful music and try to really create the level of panic that I feel like you would experience on a daily basis if your nickname was Captain and you were navigating a sea vessel. I mean, could you imagine navigating a sea vessel as a career?
No, not really.
Our guest at no point navigates a sea vessel. Our guest has found a way to turn his hobbies into a cash flow positive money making empire. But still, I want to make it a little bit scary. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show, we introduce to you a serial entrepreneur,
Captain Crunch.
It's Captain Hoff.
an angel investor, a man who makes video games, and a man who goes by the nickname Captain Hoff.
Get your barnacles off the bow of my boat.
James, you really got into it there for a minute.
Oh man, listen, we gotta get into it.
You pictured it. Did you ever as a kid want to be a captain?
100%.
Did you really?
No, I meant I was going 100%.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, 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 and yes! Thrive Nation, on today's show, we are interviewing an incredible guest, a man, a myth, a legend, a guy who goes by the nickname Captain. And so, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Steve, Captain Hoffman. Steve, how are you?
I am doing fantastic, especially today.
Hey, how long have people been calling you Captain?
They have been calling me Captain since my college days. It was my gamer handle.
Your gamer handle? Now, when did you go to college? What year was this, or years?
I'm not even going to go back there. It was a long time ago, in the early days of gaming.
So what do you do now? For people out there who aren't familiar with you and what you do, you have your hands in a lot of stuff. You're an angel investor. You're an entrepreneur. How do you derive an income on the planet Earth there, Captain?
Oh, that's a good question. So I have many pursuits, all of them, fortunately, cash flow positive. So I run Founder Space. That's my biggest venture right now. It's a startup incubator and accelerator here in Silicon Valley, where I am. I also invest in a lot of startups, and I work globally with big corporations, advising them on, innovation, attracting startups, R&D, all the different areas.
How did you first get started? Are you part of the Illuminati?
I wish I was. No, I am not part of the Illuminati, but that could mean many things, depending on
Aaron wrote that question. Aaron wrote that question. Aaron has got all of his questions are like, ask him if he's part of the deep state. Ask him if he's part of the Illuminati.
I definitely want to be part of the deep state. I'm vying to.
Okay.
I just can't
We would
find
love to have
it.
you.
I've never met anybody who's actually part of it.
Okay. Well, Aaron, no, seriously, Aaron didn't ask that. James asked that.
Okay.
No. Okay, but seriously, how did you first get started? What happened?
It was crazy. So I actually began as I'll start with my early days. So I began making games, board games, not computer games. Then I started making computer games. I also made movies. I thought I'd go to Hollywood and be a film director, but my dad, who is a rocket scientist from MIT, said, "Son, study computers." He goes, computers are the future. And so I went off and I studied computers for 4 years, and then I decided, no, I will go to Hollywood. So I went to film school at USC, got my master's degree. Then I hunted about for a job, and I was very relentless. I contacted like 150 different movie and TV producers in Hollywood. Finally, one said yes, brought me on board. It was a crazy experience. I quickly rose up to be development executive in the company. So I was working on all these projects. And then I met the founder of Sega, the game company. And this
Sega?
was right at its height.
You met the guy who built
Sega.
Hello, Sega.
Wasn't it the blue guy? The blue guy.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic the
Hedgehog.
Hedgehog. Sonic.
Yeah.
You did that. You were part of that. You hung out with the guy who made that.
No, he hung
I
out with
hung out
Sonic
with
the
the
Hedgehog.
guy who founded the company, and yes, the people who made that.
One second.
They worked for him. The people who made it worked for him.
One
But
second,
This guy was the original founder.
I can't handle it. Just give me a second. Just I want to let it sink in here.
But
Because
most people don't realize
Yeah.
that Sega was founded by an American. They think it's a Japanese company. It is a Japanese company, but it stands for Service Games. And he was over there with the military putting in pinball machines onto the bases in Yokohama.
And so how did you meet this guy? Were you at a sushi bar and you said to the guy next to you, hey, did you invent Sega? And he goes, yeah. I mean, how did you meet the guy?
It wasn't that much fun. One of the producers in our television company, it was his cousin. And he knew that I wanted to move to Japan. So I was like, I've had enough of Hollywood. I want to do something different. And he said, well, let me introduce you to my cousin who founded Sega. And I was like, oh, I love games. And I think they're going to be bigger than movies. At this time, they weren't, but they eventually became bigger than movies. So he introduced me, and then he set me up in their headquarters to design games. So I flew off to Japan, designed games for Sega, really, really fun. And then I decided I got to start my own game company. So I came back to San Francisco at that time and launched my first game company, LavaMind. Had a string of successful games. And then I jumped onto the internet when the internet was just taking off, with Netscape and all that stuff. And we made an interactive online game company called Spider Dance that actually synced to TV broadcasts. That was a crazy roller coaster ride of a startup. Then I did 2 more startups, and then I started Founderspace, which is where I am now.
If people want to look up stuff that you've made, where can they find? Give us some stuff that you've made that we can look up right now.
Okay. You can go to the first game I ever made, and it's on Steam now. We put it back up on Steam after, and it's been extremely popular. It's called Gazillionaire, and your goal is to become a gazillionaire. So it's a business game, an entrepreneur's game. So we made a series of these entrepreneurship games, and they were super popular. They were in all these schools, and all these gamers played them. And they're still going.
So when you make a game like this, do you make your money as a percentage of the revenue, or how do you get paid?
Well, I own all the IPs from the early games I made. So I made them. The first game I made, Gazillionaire, there was a big company called Spectrum Holobyte Microprose. If you were a gamer, Civilization, you might have heard that, and they made all these hit games, Star Trek, and we were this little game company. It was literally, in those days, like it was my first venture. It was just me and one other person, and we were doing all the artwork, all the game. We just uploaded it as shareware in those days, and their QA department, their quality assurance department, the testers, the game testers, they got hooked on it. So the president brings us in and says, I want to publish this game because their Star Trek franchise was late and they couldn't make Christmas and our game was done. And so we got a sweetheart deal from them, like an amazing deal where we kept all the rights, which is very unusual in the gaming world, especially at this time. And they just pumped it out everywhere, all the stores, all around went all around the world. It was really a great start to my first business.
Where do you live now?
Well, this is very interesting because as of today, right now, as we are speaking, I live officially in San Francisco, where I've lived for a long time. However, tomorrow I become a digital nomad.
What does that mean?
Tomorrow. I mean, I'm literally in my house and it's empty. We are moving out. I got rid of everything, and I am going to be traveling the world full time now.
Our sod farm tour are incredible this time of year. You're going to love the sod farm tours. The main thing we want to do is show you the green side. That's there, and that's the rule. Green side up.
The brown side of the grass isn't as
That's
exciting.
the key to a good tour. You don't want to show the brown part. The green.
The green on the side.
We've written it down.
I know, because I have friends who lived in Oklahoma, and they're like, it's very green here, and like everybody thinks it's brown. Like
they call it green country.
We have this image on the West Coast that Oklahoma is kind of dry and desolate, but the people I know who've lived there said it's so beautiful. I've never been there.
Now, you are a guy that has had a lot of success. You're now going to be traveling. You've decided to put together a new book here called Surviving a Startup. What inspired you to write this book? And then I have my rowdy friends who are going to interrogate you with questions.
Please interrogate me. So what inspired me was, most startups fail, like over 90% fail. It's a crazy world out there. I've had successes. I've had failures. And, I work with startups every day. So I've worked with, literally hundreds of startups, taking them through the process. A lot of them failed. And I started to see patterns, like what they're doing wrong and how they can how they can take when they're on a failing track and change direction and what they need to do. So I just crammed 20 years of knowledge into this book of all my personal venture-funded startups that I did and bootstrapped, as well as all the different entrepreneurs, the roadblocks they hit, the headaches they have, the craziness that being a startup is. And I wrote it so it's a super useful book to entrepreneurs. Like even if you're experienced, there's all these little things in there, these little tricks and secrets that a lot of people don't know about, especially if they've never come to Silicon Valley and they don't understand like the psychology of the venture capitalist, how the money is actually allocated, what terms they need to look out for, all that stuff.
So again, if we pick up a copy of your book, Surviving a Startup here, if we were to purchase the book, we might spend $25 on Amazon or somewhere to buy your book. What are a few more things that we could find in your book that could justify the redistribution of funds from the burrito department? Aaron, you know how it is, the burrito department in your budget.
Yeah. I mean, a good couple of burritos.
I personally love burritos, and I wouldn't take a penny out of the burrito department, but especially for my book.
Okay, you're reallocating money from
maybe take it out of the pizza department because that's so fattening.
Hey, Steve, I want to ask you real quick. Let's talk about food for a second. If you knew that tomorrow was the end of the world, you knew it, and you were given the ability to eat any food, to as much as you wanted into the world, what is that food?
Well, yesterday morning I would have answered sushi. But I just watched the Netflix documentary Seaspiracy, and I don't want to eat fish anymore. It's like crazy. So if you don't want to enjoy your fish, watch that. It's actually an amazing documentary.
Seaspiracy?
So I highly recommend it. So it's no longer sushi, and I'm like, what would I eat?
What would you eat? That's the question. What would you eat?
If it's my last day, I am a burrito-holic. So when I said don't take it out of the burrito department, I mean it. As a child, I ate burritos almost every day. So I'd probably eat a burrito just for old time's sake.
Okay, so let's say now, now that we've established the food thing, let's say you're pulling money out of some other department. Maybe it's your just discretionary spending on various hoo-ha and whatnot. What if people took money out of their discretionary hoo-ha and whatnot budget and reallocated those funds to acquire using their venture capital to buy your book, Surviving a Startup? What is something that people could learn from the book?
Okay. They can learn. I'll just give you a few things. So one, what's the first thing you should do when you're starting a company? A lot of entrepreneurs think, oh my God, I have to come up with a brilliant idea. If I don't have a brilliant idea, I'm not going to do it. And, I often tell them, your idea doesn't even matter at the beginning because, most of the ideas we think of, and I fall prey to this all the time. Like I think of an idea and I'm like, it's brilliant. This is the next big thing. I'm going to be a gazillionaire anytime. But then I talk to some of my friends and I find out either somebody's already done it. There's this flaw in it. There's, I find out all these things wrong about. Nobody actually cares about my idea but me because it's brilliant inside my head. But when in the real world, it doesn't make any sense to anybody. So I tell entrepreneurs, don't even waste your time thinking of an idea. They're like, what? Like, how can I start a company without an idea? And I'm like, what you do is pick an area you're interested in, an area that really gets you going, that you want to know everything about. Because the entrepreneurs that succeed, they go super deep. Elon Musk didn't know anything about rockets before he launched. He decided he was taking humanity to Mars, but he read a lot. He just went all the way. He read every rocket book he could get his hands on, and then he surrounded himself with rocket experts. And so I said, pick an area you want to go deep on and look for the people that you need to make this happen. Don't worry about funding. Don't try to build a product. You don't even know what product you want to build yet. That's part of figuring it all out. So you don't know enough usually if you're trying to do something innovative, something new. If you don't know enough at the beginning to do more than pick a direction, and then if you get the right people in the room, and you're all totally passionate about this, and each of you has different skills that are complementary, then you start going. Together you figure out where to go. You're all like, okay, we want to work in this area. We want to build an undersea colony. Nobody's done this, and have humanity living under the ocean. Elon Musk can go to Mars, but we're going to be at the bottom of the ocean.
At the bottom of the ocean.
And if that's kind of your vision, then you need to find people to make this happen. And who are they? Who are the most brilliant people? And don't compromise. Spend your time finding the people. That will make all the difference, because then they'll figure out everything else. Everything becomes easier when you get the right people on board. And so spend 80% of your time doing that, 20% kind of fooling around with ideas or whatever you want to do. And then once you have the people and you start going down the path, I'm like, don't build your product just yet. Go out and figure out what's needed. What would it take for you to build this? How can you do it in stages? Do people really want this? Is this the type of idea is there a market for this? And are there competitors? All the other things come afterwards.
Aaron Antis, you run Oklahoma's largest home building company. The company has grown quite a bit in recent years, grown from $24 million in sales to $150+ million in sales. You were the one who put all the deep state related questions on the show notes without your knowledge. It turns out that I was the one who asked but you know what I mean? We connected. We were going, this guy, the captain, he might be captain of the world, Aaron.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to interrogate him. Now that the interrogation has passed us, now we open up into the lighthearted stuff, Aaron. So you can ask whatever question you want. And then, just so our guest can emotionally and mentally prepare himself, Steve, then we have James. He's an attorney from New York. He's such a legit attorney from New York. He hates himself. He's here with us. And then we have Eugene Willis, who's also an attorney from Los Angeles. So you have the Oklahoma's largest home builder, Aaron, then James, an attorney from New York, and then an attorney from L.A. They have questions for you. Aaron, we'll go to you first.
I want to tell you something.
Yes.
Those attorneys, they are the ones who are probably part of the deep state. You should interrogate them.
That is true.
They just finished interrogating me about my connections to the deep state.
How'd you know?
All right. So back to you there, Aaron.
Yeah. So first of all, my question for you, Captain, is first, did you also create the game Zapitalism?
Yes.
Okay.
How did you know?
I figured, if you're going to do gazillionaire, I thought maybe it seemed like that would transfer over to
Captain, do you have your own intro music? When you walk into a room, do you have your own legit, hype man music that you play when you walk into a location?
I should get some, but I don't. It's a shame. It's been overlooked. I need to get. I need to find a great musician. Maybe one's in your audience that can create that for me.
I feel like if you were to team up with the Wu-Tang Clan, if you've ever seen the Wu-Tang Clan in concert, there's always a guy that gets the crowd going pretty rowdy before they came out there. Or if you watched a Tribe Called Quest, there's always a guy who would come out and sort of introduce people to the Tribe Called Quest. Aaron, don't you think Captain needs that guy?
Oh, for sure, just to hype it up.
Especially as you're doing your world tour.
Oh, yeah.
I've given talks in China in front of 10,000 people. And in China, when you do a talk, even a small one in front of like a small group, they have like music playing, this really dramatic music, like way too dramatic for like a business talk. You know, you feel you feel like you're stepping on, you know, the set of Star Wars or something, or the Academy Awards, something crazy big. And when I was sitting there listening to this music, I was like, I should have a theme song. So I've actually considered your proposal. I just haven't gotten around to finding the right song.
Let me just try a few real quick. Aaron, are you okay with that? Let me just try a few. This is the first one. This is. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Let me go. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful people all throughout the world, it's now my pleasure to introduce to you the captain of the planet. Woo! That felt pretty good, but I don't know if that worked. Let me try another one here. This is the Aaron. I think that one was a little too.
It was a little mellow.
Let me try again. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, please stand to your feet as you prepare to meet and greet the Captain of America, a man who's built video games that you know and video games that you don't know, a man who's decided to vagabond through America for the next year, maybe several years. He is Captain America! Woo! Do you like that one? Does that one work better for you? Is that better, or is that?
I love it, but you have to call me Captain Hoff.
Captain Hoff. Oh, okay.
Captain
Let me.
I think Captain America, I recollect that he's a superhero.
I believe
and he might be offended.
I believe that's taken already, Clay. From
Let me try this one. This is my final one. This is a good one. This is kind of takes it to sort of a dark place.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. Let me try it. Let me go. Give me just one second. I got to kind of get in the flow.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure to introduce to you my arch rival who fights for the hearts of America's youth. I am Batman, but he is Captain Hoff.
What do you think about that? Does that take it to a kind of a darker place? Is that okay for you? Does that work?
Yeah, that's a bit spooky. That's good for my deep state intros. So, and I'm doing a deep state talk. Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. Aaron, back to you. Sorry about that.
Okay, well, I got to go to one more game. How about Profitania? Or I don't know if you pronounce it that way.
Well, you mispronounce it. You got Zapitalism right, which I was impressed because some people pronounce it Zapitalism. And I know it's not.
No.
It's like capitalism with a Z. But this is Profitania, like Profitania.
Okay. All right. So you were kind of really into the whole business theme, even when you were into video games, it sounds like. And it was just sort of now you're just playing like capitalism and profit games for fun in real life.
Yes, it's even more fun, except when you lose real money.
That's true.
It's not quite as much fun.
James,
but when you're making money, it is more fun.
James, we give you the opportunity now to ask whatever question you want. And as a angry man, a.k.a. an attorney from Manhattan, we know that you're going to ask the tough questions. Sir, what question do you have for Captain Hoff?
Well, of course, it's going to be a compound question. So, hi, Captain Hoff. All right, so I want to bring you way, way back and then take you way, way forward.
When he was 12 years old.
Okay. So, back in the day, what was your favorite game to play that you didn't sort of come up with?
Oh.
And then what's your favorite game to play now if you still play?
Oh,
I do play. So,
excuse me.
So my favorite game to play, honestly, when I was around in the days of the early Atari, and I loved Space Invaders. So I was just like everybody was playing it at the time. So Space Invaders was my favorite game. And then you might know of that game. Yes!
Oh, this game is hot. Let me just give me just a second. I got to kind of work it out of my system. Even just watching other people play Space Invaders is beautiful.
Well, yeah, that's another thing. Do you know that there are stadiums set up now, Clay, where people go and watch other people play video games?
Did you know at the new man cave I have a urinal that's operated by urine that allows you to play a tank-themed video game?
That's true.
That is true. Do you know that?
I did not know that. We've got to talk about that with Captain Hoff.
No, we do. Captain Hoff, back to you.
So play when he comes here.
What's your favorite new game?
Well, I play a lot of games, so I like real-time strategy games. So League of Legends. Company of Heroes is pretty old, but I love that game. World of Warcraft, even though it's old. I love that game. So I'm really into, any real-time strategy game.
Real-time strategy. Okay. Now we are on to our final question. Our final question here. We have Eugene Willis. He's an attorney from Los Angeles. Los Angeles, attorneys. These guys are more philosophical. They're more metaphysical. So a lot of times we don't know what they're talking about. And so it's going to bring. He brings art to the legal profession.
So he's going to draw his question right now
without using a pen.
And without a screen, without a video,
he'll draw in his mind the question.
It's your last deep state question.
Okay. What?
It's your interview for that. No, I live in LA, and you live in Silicon Valley, but you're about to get out. How did you kind of maintain living in California over the last year in terms of things you did for fun? Were you just playing video games all day? Were you meditating? What were some of the kind of things you did to kind of stay sane during the last 12 to 15 months?
Well, yeah, I almost was committed to a mental hospital, so I almost went insane, like many of us. Yeah. But I survived, and I'm about to leave my house and break out into the real world again. What I did, there are a few things I did. So, number one, I wrote 2 books. That kept me busy.
There you go.
So,
Productive.
Surviving a Startup, which is coming out by HarperCollins right now, and then this summer, another book will be coming out called The 5 Forces That Change Everything, all about technology, all the latest tech, and how it's going to, AI, robots, everything, and how it's going to change us. So that's what I did. I also ran my business remotely. Overseas, we have a lot of incubators, a lot of partners. So we did all that on Zoom, which kind of drives you crazy after a while. Mm-hmm. And I tried to do yoga. I tried to meditate, but I'm too squirmy. I just can't do it. So I abandoned those. But one thing I did was keep in shape. So I love to go out, get outdoors every day, and I would go on walks, or runs, but I wouldn't just walk and run. What I would do is I would listen to audiobooks as I did it, and podcasts. So I would just download these and listen to them, and I listen at double speed. I trained myself to listen at double speed, so I can literally get through like a book in a few days.
Wow.
That's good.
Brother, what's your website? If people want to learn more about you, how can they learn more about all things Captain Hoff?
Oh, all things Captain Hoff. You just go to, you could go to CaptainHoff.com. I have that.
Oh, you could.
Yeah, but that's not my main site. So my main site is founderspace.com. So go to Founderspace. And if you want to go to my book, just go to survivingastartup.com.
Brother, I appreciate you for joining us on today's edition of the Thrive Time Show. You are a great American, and hopefully if you're coming through the Tulsa area, we will shake your hand. Hope you're doing great.
I would love that.
Hey, take care.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. And now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom!